Okay, so welcome to the contextual video for our depth study of Judaism, and we're looking at the context for our significant person, Rabbi Abraham Isaac Kook, aka Rav Kook. So we're looking at the context in which he lived, so we can really appreciate his contributions and the impact of those contributions when we look at him in more detail. So we need to look at the area of Palestine and modern day state of Israel. Okay, so Palestine is a Middle Eastern country. It's between the Mediterranean Sea and Jordan, and it was under the control of the Ottoman Empire from 1517 up until the end of the First World War, where the Turkish were defeated by the British forces. Okay, and then it came under British rule. So, Britain governed this under, legally under the League of Nations mandate from 1920 to 1948. So if you look at there, that's the area in which they ruled. Syria was run by the French, and we have surrounding countries, Egypt, Iraq, Iran, and whatnot. So to the Arab population, the Palestinians who were living there, they were under the impression that, okay, yes, the British were using this area to defeat the Ottoman Empire. However, once the war was finished, they believed the British would withdraw and they would carry on life as normal. However, the British did not have the same interpretation of that agreement and believed they made no such promise. Okay, they thought that they owned the land, because part of when you lose a war, the losing side has to pay reparations, whether that be through land or money or whatever. So the British felt as though they sort of owned this area. And they promised it to the Jews. Okay, so as they interpreted the Balfour Declaration, which Rav Kook was extremely supportive of, as we see in the quote, the perfection of "You are one and your name is one, and who is like your nation Israel, one nation in the land." So they see their identity and their land being inextricably connected. It's one, it's who they are. So it has religious significance for their culture and their religious tradition, and many Jews migrated there after World War One. Okay, because they thought that was what they were supposed to do. They returned to their holy land, Eretz Israel, the land, the people of God, the land of Israel. So this early on didn't cause too many problems. The British were still in control. Arabs and Jews seemed to get on. However, things didn't last long. Okay, because there was an influx of Jews. Many Jews were coming to live there, sort of like taking over some areas as such, which obviously upset the Palestinians, and tensions broke out and culminated itself in a war. Okay, so the Palestinian War, or the Hebrews know that as the War of Independence. Okay, because for them it was them separating from the Palestinians. So the United Nations, which was only formed in 1947, decided to accept the idea of partitioning or sectioning off areas of Palestine. So have a zone for the Jews and a zone for the Arabs. And at this point, when that was proposed, the British withdrew from the region, so they no longer ruled over that area. But when that happened, war broke out. So Israel was attacked by surrounding Arab nations. They retaliated. War ensued. Terrorist attacks on both sides. Okay, so to the Palestinians, the area that the Jews call Israel is Palestine, was Palestine, will always be called Palestine. They do not acknowledge Israel as a state at all. But to the Jews, it is their homeland. It is an independent state. It is the state of Israel. So as you can see, there has not been any periods of peace since 1948. So this is a bit of extra information there. Periods of ceasefires where they tried to negotiate terms of the partition plan. Egypt and Jordan occupied areas, but then they withdrew. But again, still not acknowledging, so these other Arab nations not acknowledging the Jewish state. Okay, and by the end of the war, Israel kept an area that had been delegated to them by the UN. So we can see that in the image there, the partition plan, which was supposed to sort of mediate. But with that, meant that certain people were kicked out of areas. So 700,000 Palestinians were kicked out of that area. That became Israel, and therefore refugees, and then vice versa, the Jews had to flee the other areas, so it was a mess. So for the Israelis, the Jews, they see themselves as, having this bigger area and making certain concessions for peace, like we're working towards peace, we want an agreement. So you can see the blue, that's what all the area they did own, and then in 1993, how it's shrunk, and then in 2011, how they've, given back Palestine some areas. However, Palestinians see it quite differently. If you look at the green, that is their home, what they owned in 1947, with the white representing the Jewish settlements. And as you can see, up until the present day, they own very little of their own country anymore, of Israeli occupied. It's all Israeli occupied now. Okay, so again here we see the green is the Palestinian Authority and the rest is Israeli control, and the red border is actually literally a wall that is trying to minimise terrorist attacks on both sides. So will there be a resolution? Probably not any time in the future, okay, but it's important to understand the context in which we're going to be looking at our significant person, because he was very much an advocate for the state of Israel, being a Jew himself. Okay, so he saw it as being religiously significant. So we'll go into more detail of that, but that's just a general overview of what's happened. Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe and comment.